So I'm looking at the pictures for this auction for this 1921 Bisher True Tone Alto. The serial number matches up with the 1921 year manufacture. It's like 20,000 were made that year, whereas Selmer Paris made like around 1 to 2,000 per year in the early 1920s. So you can tell from that in America, this saxophone was affordable. It was made in great quantities, so literally a dime a dozen. So I don't think $100 would be a terrible investment if the worst case scenario was it needed like another $100 of repairs. But what really drew me to this auction was the case. Okay, as you can see from the pictures, from the original auction listing, is a tweed case made by a company called Frost and Stone. Never heard of them, but they seem to tout their cases as quality cases. I even found an old ad for this company. But on this particular occasion, I'm hoping that this case is still functional, especially if it's called a quality case. So I took a chance. I won the auction for $100, and I'm wondering to myself, what is this red twist tie thingy that is attaching, looks like it's attaching the handle to the case. So I drive all the way down to Summit, New Jersey to pick up this item that I won. I go to this warehouse filled with old furniture. Finally, I see the item, and I am still really worried about this handle and the integrity of the case. I see this guy coming out with the item, holding it from here, the worst place that I can imagine handling something that's like almost 100 years old. The weight of the saxophone and everything in the case relies on the handle when carrying it. I know there has to be some kind of like cylindrical hollow thingy, right? Let's zoom in, that has to hold it together. So my concern was looking at this, that this thing here would be like the separation, there'd be like, it would be like welded together, because that's really what I would expect today. But given that this case is really old, I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised, as I'm running my finger through here. You can hear it's smooth. There is no real ridge. I don't feel any kind of ridge there. It's smooth. Maybe slightly oxidized or slightly corroded, but on this one as well, it's smooth. That means there's this thing running through the whole handle. And then as such, the whole weight of the instrument can be borne. I wouldn't go outside with this, but I know that this is reliable, this handle. So I opened the case, and I'm super excited. Look at what I found. This is a tray pack case. You can see from this section right here that the flute goes in there. And you could see from this section over here that a clarinet case would fit in there. So you would have a flute, clarinet, and this saxophone to be carried in this case. So wow, I am extremely ecstatic. Okay, so let's take a look at what came with the saxophone. Okay, and we can see that we got this 100-year-old cork grease. That's pretty cool. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a second. We'll apply that to the cork when we play test this. And we'll also play test this, which is a mute that I found that you could put in the bell of the horn, and it would mute the sound. This is probably from 1920s as well. These working musicians probably played in a big band and used that to soften the sound a bit. And this is the most interesting find, actually. It's a repair bill. And if you look at this repair bill, you'll see that the labor is $845 and supplies of $105, about $1,000 to get this instrument back in playing condition. And guess what? I spent $10 and got this to be in perfect working order. So you have to be careful about these estimates. And what else came with it? The neck, very important, looks good. We'll try that in a moment. And the mouthpiece that came with this, is it in here? Yes, it is a golden tone. And this was very common in the 1960s as a stock mouthpiece. Nothing special. And let's not forget now the last two things that came with it. One is a neck strap from the 1920s, as well as a lyre. When I looked at this auction, I could tell just by the images, taking a closer look at it now, that the way the patina is on the saxophone, the way the wear and tear is on the saxophone, it appears to me that it is in very good condition for being 100 years old and being in playable condition. Because as I mentioned before, it only took $10 to get this back into really perfect working order. So in looking at the serial number, let's zoom in under the thumb rest. We can see that the number is 82811, and that places it in the 1921 to 1922 year of manufacture, because Fisher started making saxophones in 1890 with a true tone, with their serial number scheme starting at number 1. And as you can see, they, on this chart as we go down, they made, a few a year. I guess everything from 1890 to 1903 was destroyed, and then they still have records from 1905 on, okay? And then when we go down to 1921, we see where this particular saxophone serial number falls in, which is between 1921 and 1922. Okay, so taking a quick look at the flip side of the horn, let's zoom in from the top and take a look. This octave key was bent originally, so that was my $10 fix, and everything else seemed to work fine. And if you look at the key work and you look at the patina on it, though it was relacquered, this saxophone is definitely one that was very well cared for. And as we go down, we're going to see something very interesting that only these old saxophones have, which is this key. You're not going to see this key on your modern saxophones. This was an E-flat trill key that has been deactivated. And you can tell it's deactivated because if you look really carefully here, this is closed. It should be open, but it's actually closed, and the spring was reversed in order to make that close. So although I don't have a problem with this E-flat trill key being there, because now that it's not working, it doesn't affect the intonation or the playing of the sax whatsoever, I do have an issue with a couple other keys, and we'll get into that right now. So if you zoom in on this octave key, which is right above the thumb rest, you'll see that the shape of the actual key is, doesn't seem very dangerous, right? It's like a pearl-shaped button, but it's not an ideal shape. In fact, it's far from ideal for the thumb, because when I tried playing for a little while, let's say after 15 minutes, my thumb was hurting. And you can see as we zoom in where all that wear is off the lacquer on that key. And if you even look even more carefully, let's look to the side, you can tell that the distance between the base of the pearl and here is far. So every time you're jamming your thumb or moving your thumb, that's where the pain occurs, and I just can't take it anymore after about 20 minutes. And I'll demonstrate the awkwardness of both keys for you in a second, but let's look at the second key. This is the G sharp button. And as you can see, it's just a round pearl. And today, the button looks a lot different. Okay, we'll compare it with a modern G sharp key. Here's a modern G sharp key on a Selmer USA from 1980. And here is a octave key on a 1980 Selmer USA. As you can see, the distance between the thumb and the actual button is very, very close. And you can see the wear on the lacquer here is a much more reasonable place to be, hitting the key. And so that's why the key is shaped like this, rather than the way the Fisher had it, which was up here. Alright, so let's set this horn up using the stuff that came with it. Of course, reasonably using your own neck strap, because I believe this neck strap that came with the horn, the case, is probably from 1921, because I haven't really seen any other neck straps like this. This will go around the neck, right? And you can see it's very old leather. Okay, I treated it with some kind of leather treatment to try to see if I can get the suppleness back. And as you can see, it would extend down to connect to the saxophone with this hook here. So you have this hook and it swivels over here, right? And the adjustment here though is questionable. Looks like someone had to tie a knot to make this longer or shorter. So I'm not doing that, but it's a nice piece of history to look at. I say it has no value. And we look at the neck. As you said before, the neck looks like it has not been pulled down. Definitely relacquered. Okay, you can see splotches of the red rouge. But if it was bent down ever, it was repaired perfectly, I believe. Just looking at the angle there. I've seen enough of these to know. Okay, there's no special marking on this part of the neck. So using though the 100-year-old cork grease, this was an amazing find for me, because when you open it up, you'll see that, look at this, the color has not even, it hasn't changed to a weird ugly color over the years. It actually is pretty decent. So when I touch it, you know, when I touch it like this, you can see it's very fine. It's like chapstick. So I'm going to apply it here to, you know, to the cork. This is not. I'm sure it's not the original cork. This horn has definitely been overhauled over the years. So as I'm setting up this mouthpiece on the neck of this Bisher, I'm using a Santi Runyon, one of his original designs. This is an early mouthpiece because there is a serial number on it, and he was quoted once as saying that he just put them on there because, you know, people like them, but there really is no system to it. So he has no real record of like when these were made. But I would say these are pretty early, perhaps in the you know, 40s or 50s. That would be my guess. So as I put this on, and this is a size 5 as it was written on the table. So this is about the same opening for me that I like in every mouthpiece, which is like a .70 tip opening. So let's hear it. Let's check it out. Alright, so as you can see, the thumb here is not really, the octave key is going to wear your thumb out kind of quickly. And the G sharp table here is a little awkward, but with a little bit of practice, you can actually hit it. You put it in the horn like this, right? And then loosely, right? And then you could play it like this. And then when you take it out, so the takeaway here for you is that if you're a beginner learning to play the saxophone, avoid any saxophone that has this G flat configuration. This key is way too small, or the octave button key that you saw earlier is just way too clumsy and can hurt the thumb. But if you're a professional and you want that 1920s sound and it's a really sweet sound too. I think it's worth it to have a working condition horn like this. So if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, kindly do so. Take care.